Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasiewicz.
Welcome everyone to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 228. And this week I'm joined by Jem Fuhs from Fusion Marketing, and our guest is Kemi Huyse. So I hope I said that right. Again, we were talking about this backstage before we decided to start the show, but I want to welcome everyone. We've got a lot of topics we want to talk about. I'm going to have Jem introduce Kemi here in a second. But if you're listening on our podcast, or you're watching on facebook.com/socialchefs or youtube.com/socialchefs, leave us a comment. Would love to know where you're from, where you're watching. This will help us also fine tune the show to make sure we try and optimize when we broadcast the show. Again, if you have any questions, also leave them there and we'll do our best to answer them. So Jem, it's a pleasure to have you back again, filling in for Phil just the last couple of weeks. So thanks again for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Christian, and it's great to be here. I love the format of your guys' show. It's every show is different, and I think that's what people have to think about when they talk about doing live shows. And we obviously have been talking about that a lot offline. So yeah, it's exciting to have Kemi join us today. This is actually the first time I'll have been on a live video with Kemi, but we've been connected for a while through Twitter. And Kemi is the co-host of the Communities That Convert podcast with Madeline Scalar. I know she does a ton of stuff in the Houston area. She's the CEO of Zoetica Media. And she also, I think, does a lot. They have a social media breakfast in Houston. And what's funny, little fun fact is, Kemi actually went to George Mason University, which is right around where I grew up, but it was also my college Old Dominion's arch rival in basketball before that all stopped. So I won't pick on the Patriots today.
Well, let's go and bring her on, and then and we'll save that for offline. How's that sound?
Oh, I want to fight.
So it's great to have you, Kemi, join us on Social Chatter. Just a pleasure. I didn't realize you were so busy. I guess that explains why also it's so hard to get in touch with you. And, to always, to make, because I want to make sure I got all the information to you and everything. So, but it's a pleasure having you on this week. Is there anything we didn't cover about you? Anything else you do that you want to tell viewers or listeners?
I also have an online course to teach people how to bring social media into their company called smartsocialsecrets.com. So I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur, that's for sure. I got a lot going on.
No, it's all good. By the way, if you want to drop a link to that in the comments, feel free to do that.
Sure.
We'd greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So Jem, where do you want to go this week? Because I know we talked about topics, and I mean, there were seriously 10 topics from Instagram this week. We had some Facebook topics, some WhatsApp topics, but where do you want to start?
Well, let's actually start with something people don't always talk about a lot, at least not in my age group, Snapchat. Snapchat is coming up with, if I guess for lack of a better term, some personal safety features. And I think this really falls in line with the things that are going on with taking away the views of likes, or I should say reactions on platforms like Instagram. There's talk of it happening on Facebook, because it's almost like that whole mindset of getting overwhelmed by oh, well, nobody's liking my post, nobody likes me. I think this is, I think it's interesting. I think it just kind of goes to where social and digital is so much in people's brains. I think it can be overwhelming at times.
What do you think about that, Kami? From a business perspective, or even just from a user perspective, is this something that Snapchat should actually be tasked with doing? Do you think every social media platform needs this? What's your take?
Yeah, I actually do because honestly, I also serve on the board of Civilla Nation, which is an online nonprofit that's kind of, we really think about how to stop online harassment. And
Right.
we see the ugliest of the ugliest things, I guess. So I've seen things across all platforms. And so, yeah, we're calling for these platforms to be much more proactive in their working with public safety, because either from a mental perspective or from like stopping the harassment that just inevitably happens because humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. So do you think that like Facebook needs to control more of this, and Instagram and LinkedIn? I mean, I haven't seen a lot of this bleed into LinkedIn yet.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is just not quite there yet. I mean, I promise you that there's a lot of things going on in LinkedIn that probably are behind the scenes, especially in a workplace setting. People may be a little bit more in their best behavior. And I think LinkedIn is benefiting from that because they have that workplace kind of mentality in what they're doing. And so the rest of the places, Snapchat, all these others, people are like hanging out there kind of after hours, and so I think people let their true selves out, I guess, and often don't think that they're actually impacting other people. There's a lot of issues with that too. It's like when you're driving your car and you scream at the driver in front of you because they go too slow. You don't think about the person that's driving the car. What are
they going through? Exactly. There's a lot of stuff that could be going through. Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't. I mean, and it's normal. It's a normal human behavior because we're not seeing that impact, the body language. Like what's great about video, like what we're doing here is you see our body language.
Exactly.
But in most social media, you're not seeing that. So
there
needs to be some guidelines.
Right. Definitely.
And if they don't do it, they're going to get legislated into it. And that's happening in Europe already.
Yeah, definitely. So Jim, what do you think? What do you think about this update from Snapchat? Good, Dad.
I would agree with Cammie. I think it's a good step, and we really didn't touch on it too much, but I do know I see from time to time, which is really disappointing to me, that at times, especially women on LinkedIn, are getting, in a sense, harassed on Messenger.
That is happening,
and I think that needs to be put a stop to. And I think it might be Instagram. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Is doing some things within Messenger that will maybe is something LinkedIn could take a clue from as far as context of what's going in some of these messages. Of course, you're reading my messages, but
I actually just deleted a message today. I'm trying to remember if it was on Instagram or on Facebook from a guy that said, it was on Instagram. I've been staring at your photo and something. I could, and it made me have to reboot I forget what he said. Anyway, it was really like inappropriate, and I just went, bloop. So I just deleted it. I should have probably reported it. Anyway, my point is that we as females kind of are used to that. I hate to say that. That's sad, but we get propositioned a lot on social media platforms.
Yes, that is sad. Yeah. So moving off this topic, I mean, to help people prepare, I guess. I mean, what's one thing they should do real quick?
I think you need to time block your social media and don't let yourself get sucked into it, because I think it starts to overwhelm people and they forget, there's a world outside, and we don't need to see you taking pictures of every 5 seconds of your life. And, there used to be this thing called the outside world, and there was no internet.
What?
I know, right? It's crazy.
I remember my Walkman. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. And technology, I could move away from my stereo to listen to my music. So yeah, no, I agree with you, Jim, 100% on that, because I think we have to give ourselves specific times of the day to do it. And I've had to do that overall. You've heard all the things I'm up to. So in order for me to get my work done, I have to say, okay, I'm going to be on Twitter at this time, and then I'm going to do it here. And I know some people that are really addicted have removed the apps from their phone and they only use it on desktop, for example. Right. So there's some ways that you can do it, but I mean, you have to kind of self-regulate. I know that, Instagram has put out these time things, they tell you how much time you've spent on the app. And I mean, that's helpful. I know with my children, actually, I use Google Home with them. And with them, I can actually go in and limit the amount of time they can spend on a specific app. It's all the way down to the app level. I love that. I love the Google Home controls with kids. It's really, really helpful. Here, I'll pull it up in a minute. But yeah, so I think that's really important, those controls.
And I'd say kind of piggyback off yours, and then we'll move on to the next topic. The other thing also you can do if you want to self-regulate, and self-regulation is key here. For example, on iOS, you can go into the accessibility feature, and you can actually turn on the triple click option. It will actually turn your icons gray. And I've heard, studies have shown at least, that having a black and white icon will make you less susceptible to actually go into the app because you see the notifications or whatever colors are on. So I'd recommend maybe if you're trying to get certain things done, A, it saves your battery, but B, test it out and see if you actually, how you react to, hey, it's black and white, it's gray, dull. If that actually changes your desire to want to connect.
That's really interesting, I think. So see here, you can actually see how long somebody spent on an app.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of really cool apps like that. And then see where it says set limits, you can click on set limits.
Right.
Can't do that. And then when you click on that set limits button, you can go in there and actually set limits for overall or per app.
Fantastic. I think that's the one thing, I love technology. I don't know if you know that, but love technology, love gadgets. Jem, you obviously know that.
Me too.
And here's the thing. I don't think that from a mobile device perspective, people delve that much into their mobile devices to know what all it can do, because it can do a lot. You just have to take a little bit of time and set that stuff up. So, so Jem, where do y'all want to go? We talked Snapchat. What's next?
Let's go to Facebook's latest purchase.
Ooh.
Okay, so what do we got going on here? I mean, they made a purchase. What do they do?
So they acquired a London-based company called Scape Technologies, which is in the AR VR world. Couple thoughts on it. Sometimes big companies swallow up little companies so that their technology can't develop. Or it might actually be that Facebook is planning to do more with AR and VR they do have Oculus, and these are things that, the younger generation is getting into. It took me a couple of years to realize that Xbox had done away with the Kinect, which I used to love because you could move, and now they want you to stick something on your face so you are in a virtual world.
Yeah.
So Cameron, what do you think about this?
Well, I think this is what's going to happen. So I believe, there's my husband works for a big corporation, which will remain unnamed, but they're using, and it's maybe you would think a stodgy organization. So if I told you, you'd be shocked, but they're using HoloLenses, and they're starting to do all this. In fact, I have a really cool video of my son using my husband's HoloLens in our living room, kind of learning how to use it. And it's pretty interesting. That was over a year ago. And they're already using it for applications in business. So they're going out and doing in the field types of exercises before they go in the field. You know what I'm saying? So they're doing some practicing. Years and years ago, it's been years, maybe almost 10 at this point. I was over at MD Anderson here, and they had an Apple was in there doing a really interesting surgical thing with the doctors, and they projected the inside of the body on the top of the body so that the surgeons it looked like the skin was transparent. They could see where all the organs were, so they lined them all up. And so there's some really cool stuff that's going on that has been going on for a long time. So for devices, the next thing for devices in my mind is going to be like a device that actually pulls a hologram up. So you can just pull your device up and it'll float over your device. That's coming. So, Facebook would be dumb not to get ready for that, right? Because they can take advantage of that in big ways.
Yeah, and that's what I think, overall is probably going to happen here. I think that, if they're going to acquire all these people, they may not use technology immediately, but I think they're already thinking, hey, you know what, do we put this into Oculus Rift? Do we put this into, some of our other, maybe even the Facebook platform at some point? They do have to think ahead because, if they're not doing it, their competitors are. So
yeah, Adobe came out with the little program now where you can make the little 3D stuff for free. And I made my little robot guy in my living room, and haven't done anything since because shiny object, squirrel.
Yeah, it's so true. But there's gonna be a layer of AR that's gonna be already out there. And I know people have been working with this for years already, in apps. And think about what was the one with all the little things you had. Oh, geez. Everybody had it on the phone where you'd go.
You're talking about Pokemon?
Pokemon, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I even did it at the time. So we were all running around looking for these Pokemon and like collecting them.
Yeah.
So I do believe that is like just the way the world's going to work. So when we do search, I mean, we're already using the voice activation search, right? So I say, hey, Google, how do I find XYZ or Siri or, whichever ones you're using, and it automatically talks to me. So why wouldn't it also have a visual aspect at some point?
Definitely. So I think this is good news. I mean, so switching gears now. So Facebook's made this purchase. Now switching gears, also in Facebook news this week, Facebook is now going to provide a one-time notification API to enable businesses to send important messages. What do you all think about this? I realize it's a little more restrictive on a user, but is this a good thing, a bad thing? Jem, what's your take?
I think it's a good thing, but I also, and you and I talked before the show a little bit about this. So in the whole world of chatbots, Facebook has clamped down, and I would probably say it's because of spammers that, once people have connected through, whether it's MiniChat or Mobile Monkey or some of these other chat programs, these businesses were then spamming the people and they were getting upset. So they've taken away this capability, or in the process of taking away this, if you want to call it broadcast capability, if you're not approved. But in fairness to these businesses, like, well, look, I got this program because I wanted to be able to communicate important news. So they're going to give you as the individual the ability to say, yes, Zoetica can contact me one time if it's a sale or something I missed out on. But I think to take it a step further, and I don't know, I guess I'm like the dark side of the Force, evil empire thing. Facebook at some point, I believe, wants to control Messenger because it's into their monetary advantage.
Yes.
So they're doing these things as they get smarter, as they get the capability. It's happened with other third-party tools, right? Like you can't even, now that you can schedule on Facebook and Instagram natively through the app, at what point do third-party tools go away? Because that doesn't make Facebook money.
Right.
So I think it's good in a way, but I also think that there's ulterior motives. But that's just my opinion.
So Kimmy, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so I've always been a little bit skeptical about this because, and I do have a MiniChat account and I use it and I love it, but I don't own the people that are subscribing to me through MiniChat. So as they subscribe through me through MiniChat, I can't download them. I have no way of getting in touch with them beyond MiniChat. So the second that goes away, I lose all of those people and their interest, right? On the other hand, I also feel like there needs to be more controls. So one of the things that Facebook isn't offering right now is a lot of control. So for example, right now, Facebook is already offering, so I do a lot of events. So you heard before by Jim that I do Social Media Breakfast of Houston every month. Well, we do that the second Friday of every month. And so people say they're going to come to the event. And what Facebook has done is put a little button beside it that says, message all the people that are coming to this event. So you can message everybody, which I have, just to try it out. And it puts them in a group, like basically the worst form of reply all message ever. Right. So anybody can say anything.
And then everybody's wanting to leave that group right away. Like, why?
Right. We all, if they know how to do it. Right. So, to give you an example, I did one in December because we were doing a gift of guidance thing, and I wanted to make sure everybody had the information of how to park because there were some issues around parking at the Houston Chronicle. So I was giving them some information, and last minute, and in this chat thing, and then it was just sat there for however long, and then a couple of weeks ago, somebody popped up in there promoting something, and everybody just attacked her immediately, and she left the group immediately. Right. And I realized, I have to go back and delete these threads. So I did. I deleted it. But the point is that we need a tool or Facebook needs to step up and give us more controls over the experience. Otherwise, people are going to hate it.
Right.
Right.
And I think you bring up a great point too, Cammie, and I think it kind of goes back to you want to call it the old fashioned, you got to own your email list, because if they take away the messenger, you've lost all these customers that you built up this great database with. And so it still kind of goes, how do I get them off of the social platforms so that I can continue to connect and collaborate and generate sales? And yeah, so, when and then of course, when they make all these changes, and there's some great, folks out there showing people how to do this right.
Oh yeah, there's some really great ones.
Kelly Noble Mirabella comes to mind,
Yeah.
and but it just yeah.
And MiniChat has some great training too. They have like amazing training on the back end of how to use all of this. And they're a great platform. I mean, I like their tool, and it certainly makes it easier for you to respond to people, but you have to set it up properly.
Right.
And not everybody has the know how to do it. And it's hard. And then the ones that do can kind of be, duplicitous about it and try to get around the rules. And I think that's going to be a big thing. But of course, as you said, Jim, Facebook will probably at one point just shut it all down. I mean, if it gets out of control, they'll shut it down.
Oh, and just just the other day, there was an API issue, and I think it was causing problems over the weekend.
And that comes down to your reliance on third-party tools. If you rely a lot on third-party tools, you have to basically, you have the good with the bad there. Sometimes it will work and sometimes it won't, and it's not up to it's not something you can control. So that's partly why you should lean back towards using Facebook as much as possible for certain things, but not for everything. Another thing I also want to highlight, by the way, so I did bring up some instructions on how this might be useful for a business. And this is actually a clothing company. So say somebody wants to buy something and it's out of stock. This is where having the one-time notification, I think, could be useful, extremely useful, actually, because it allows the customer and the business to be able to communicate versus, right now, or at least sort of previously, I guess, only the individual could message the page. The page could initiate that conversation with the user. So I think this is very useful from a stock standpoint. This also, suggests to me a lot, if I look at it from an email marketing side of things, email marketing is opt-in, it's permission-based. And so you can't just add somebody to a list just because. They have to actually confirm that they want to get that email. And I see the same thing in a way happening over here on Facebook Messenger, or at least that's the direction I think Facebook's trending with the one-time notification. In a way, it's all, it's them trying to, also keep people on the Facebook platform as they said they wanted to do for the longest time.
Yeah. And I think you're right about that, Christian, because email is even moving more that way too, is that, we probably at some point are not going to be able just to send emails unless it's specifically for a triggered response. And so this triggered response email stuff is really important, which is basically customization, right, to what people actually want. And as the tools get much more sophisticated, we're able to send out information specifically for what people want. And marketers are really resisting that. And I kind of resist it too. I mean, because you want to send a bunch of stuff out and you want to make sure you don't miss anybody. And this idea of niching down your market, if you've ever worked with people and trying to put together a social media strategy or a plan, which we do with our clients all the time, they always resist this, right? We help everybody. So yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, the tough part. Yeah, it's definitely a tough thing. I mean, the good news is, there is a bit of a delay with this as well. So they did announce it, but then they issued a delay that was I think March 4th, maybe 2020, when they're actually going to roll this out. So you have a couple of weeks maybe before they actually officially start to roll this out. But I would say this, I mean, keep in mind also, don't just mass email people. You have to think about your customer. Does my customer, if they're the type of person that, they don't check their email very often, and I'm just dump more emails on them, It's the same thing with Facebook Messenger. You need to respect your customer's space a little bit. So,
and it also pops up. I mean, if you haven't managed the notifications on your phone, what I hate about Facebook Messenger is it just pops up into your face. And so I've managed those messages. They don't do that anymore, but that can be very annoying for somebody who doesn't know how to turn that off.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it stems from the average user just doesn't. There's so many controls to keep up with. If they're not a technology person, I mean, they're going to struggle. So that's Facebook's one-time notification API change. So you guys want to maybe move to one, or let's see, you want to do 2 more topics, then we'll talk about some tools and some community building tips?
Sure.
Okay. So we're going to switch gears. We're going to move over to Instagram. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, there were a ton of topics this week about Instagram. I mean, I was just amazed at how many new features they actually added. I guess they got through that backlog or something. But speaking of private messaging, this earlier, from a Facebook standpoint, but Instagram is also rolling out ways to help you limit who can send you direct messages on the Instagram platform. What do you guys think about this? I mean, obviously to get this, you need to update your Instagram app, and then you'll find this in your settings menu under the privacy section, under message controls. But what do you think? Good, bad?
I think it's good. I will tell you, I know people that their advice to people is kind of like, if I wasn't connected with Cami and she put a like on one of my Instagram posts, of course now, well, of course you can still see the like, everyone else can't. I might message her and say, hey, I saw you like my post. Would you like to buy my stuff? And you're like, I just was liking it. So I think it's good, because if I'm not following you, it's kind of like with Facebook, right? You can't necessarily, you can message someone, but it's kind of like hidden, and I have to accept it to really start to interact. So I think it's a good thing. I think that we've got enough ways to connect with people, and you're really not giving them permission when you allow them to direct message you. I mean, it's like, it kind of goes along the whole grounds of, you have to opt in, especially if it's a business account, to allow them to message you. So I think it's a good thing.
What do you think, Cami?
I do too. I also think, I just want to bring in that safety and security piece of this again, for women, especially, that, again, I had a message just like this morning, that was just really inappropriate. And so I think about my daughter, or somebody like that, or even, a young person of any kind. They usually have a private account. Hopefully they do. But if they have an open account, because some of them are building a brand and they're trying to become something, why can't they turn that off so they don't get those awful messages, so that doesn't scar their brain?
Right.
So from that perspective, I would say that would be really good. The other part is that I don't know how many people will figure this out right away.
We just need to do a video on it.
Hopefully they're watching the show, but
yeah, let's see. I hope so too, and I'll send them here. But my point is that I think a lot of people need to learn about this, and fortunately, all these security features and all these back end features are kind of hard to find in Instagram.
Yes,
definitely. Hey, well, so Jim and I were talking about this, and so the other thing I think this, again, just speculating, but I think what may happen at some point is Instagram direct messages are going to become just like Facebook Messenger, in the fact that, like, you have a specific inbox that if I'm not connected with somebody and I send them a direct message or a private message, it goes to another inbox, and it's one that is buried and very hard for somebody to get to. And the only way you typically can get that person's attention is, A, you can send them a friend request, or B, you can hit the wave option in Facebook Messenger, and hopefully get their attention at that point. But I think that's the direction that they're going, obviously, with their unified inbox. Maybe they're trying to set some of this stuff up, and hope maybe.
They already do have it. They have They already have a primary and general mailbox, so that already is there. Right. It's in place. The structure's in place.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That has been their goal, is to create what do we call it? What's Insta Messenger? When they combine WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook Messenger all into one. So
they're trying to move it together. Obviously, because that's their future. I still remember, when we kind of, Instagram had newly been acquired by Facebook. My son is a teenager, a little bit older of a teenager, and he had talked about, oh, Mom, Facebook is for old people. I said, well, don't you realize Facebook owns Instagram too? And he was horrified. So I think they will keep their branding for that reason, because they have to bring up a new generation into their products, but they're going to use the best of all the products across them. Right now you can do a story and it automatically can be sent over to your Facebook page, so as a story. So I think there's some interesting things there. And if you want to make your Instagram account a business account, you also have to have a Facebook business page. So my kid, my 16-year-old kid has a Facebook business page, but I don't think he's been on there in ever.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, even if you have an Instagram account for your business, or you set one up and you're like, hey, you know what, I'm not going to use this yet. Just keep in mind that if you don't use it, Instagram can take the account at some point because it falls into basically a dormant status. Same thing happens for Facebook as well. So what I would recommend is, if it's a Facebook page, go into your settings menu, make it private so that it's still in your account, but it's not public to people. On Instagram, it's, I would set it to private as well if you're not going to use it. So I'm going to go to one more Instagram topic. We're going to have Cami share some tips, and we're going to wrap up with some tools. Okay, does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So the other topic I want to touch on very quickly actually, is just the fact that Instagram has also added, in addition to this feature about, it's the fact that you can now request a review if you have a disabled Instagram account. And I bring this topic up because I hear from people all the time. They're like, hey, my account on Instagram got shut down for whatever reason, whether I was using a third-party tool that was not approved, or maybe I was doing something that might have broken the terms of service and whatnot, but they now have a way to request a review. You basically log into Instagram, and it will ask you to request the review. So I think that I like these updates that they've released this week. I think they're fantastic. What do you guys think about the fact that Instagram now has a way to work with disabled accounts?
I think it's good. I think of course, it was funny looking in the Twitter thread of this. There was a lot of complaints like, oh, it's about time you had some customer service. So I think Facebook, which also owns Instagram, I think that's part of the challenge is you're not talking to a person. It's like you're going into this vortex, hoping that something comes back out of it. So.
Well, and I do believe they actually had this before. It just wasn't easy to find. So I think so they're putting it front and center. I think that's great.
Yeah, it used to be actually, like I said, I've had a lot of people ask about this all the time. So it used to actually be a form on their help section. But then it was like, you go there and you would submit a request versus this way, I log in and it actually tells me, hey, do you actually want to try to get back into your account? We can actually review it. So I'd love to see this feature come to Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, Facebook is hard, actually you can go to the Facebook help area. You can type in Google Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, it's a help community.
And they actually have a little Messenger app there where you can click in the Messenger app and actually ask them questions and get live support from somebody from Facebook. Believe me, it when I found that was a really great find a couple of years ago.
Definitely. Not a lot new here as far as this update. I mean, pretty simple. They basically, like you said, they made it more front and center. So if anybody has a disabled Instagram account, very simple. Update your Instagram app on your device's app store, log in your Instagram account, and you should see these options. It will say,
so cool.
Your account will be deleted. So there's a download data option, and then it's going to give you an option to request a review and let you know basically, once it's been reviewed. Or if it's in review, or what the actual outcome is. Keep in mind, by the way, so if Instagram decides they don't want to reinstate your account, it's they're the gateholders basically. So they decide if your account can be reinstated or not. It doesn't matter if hey, I had 1 million followers and they disappeared. Right. They take into things such as you violate the terms of service. Are you spamming people, for example? Have you been reported a whole bunch of times? Are there any other things, Cami, you want to add for that?
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes if it's just a glitch, they'll just restore you. I mean, this happened to one of our actually Twitter accounts the other day, and when they went and looked at it, they immediately turned it back on. So there are glitches that happen too.
So before we move into tool time, by the way, so I want to give Cami the floor, and I want to have her share 3 tips on building community, because she helps people build communities, and I think it's a fantastic thing. And you need it if you want to get social media to actually work. It's not just about posting content on your platforms or building up a whole bunch of followers or buying a whole bunch of followers. You have to build community, which means you have to engage with people. So, Cami, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. So I actually made this really fun little art project before I came on, because I think an acronym sometimes helps really well. So I'm going to talk about bees, and it's part of what I do in my smartsocialsecrets.com community. Like when we're talking about how to build a community, because I think these 4 steps, if you kind of follow them, and there's a bunch of different techniques and tips inside of them. So I'll just run through them one at a time. But at first, if you want to build a hive. Like, let's just talk about a bee in general. What do? They build a beehive, and then they have this one bee that goes around and looks for all kinds of different information. So I call that the eavesdrop. And then they come back and tell the beehive, and then everybody follows them, right? So they go out and they figure it out. And then after that, they're socialized and they're all doing their little jobs. So that's how you also build your online community. So you want to first build your community, meaning figure out where you want to hang out. Where are you going to be doing this? So I think most people make a mistake when they try to be on too many platforms at once at first. Certainly, I think it's okay after a while, but at first you probably want to build some credibility inside of one platform. And again, you definitely want to get your name, your business name across all the different platforms. And I love your tip, Christian, about like making that private afterwards if you're not going to be active there. You can also put up a pinned post on there telling people where you are active. That's sometimes helpful too. But having that one place where you're out there every day, connecting with people, talking to different organizations, and so on. So you want to figure out your build. Then you want to eavesdrop. So part of what eavesdropping is about is figuring out who your ideal client is. And so we call them your ideal community member, because we believe that building a community is the best way to build a social media presence, because that's where the magic is, as far as I'm concerned anyway, is that, you don't build a social media presence based on your efforts. It's about your efforts plus the people that love what you do and follow you. So, there's no show without watchers or listeners, right? So you guys are really important to Social Chatter, for example. Christian will bring it to you. He'll put together the topics, but the topics are based on you and what your interests are and who you are. So that's eavesdropping. So he's going to find out as much about you as possible. So for example, I would love to know, where are you guys from today? So if you're listening live, could you put a comment in the comments telling me where you're from, and sort of if you're doing social media for personal or for business? That would be a first thing that I would want to know, because then how I give you information will change based on that. So knowing your customer is really important. So you can eavesdrop on them. There's a lot of ways to do that. You can actually jump into take some keywords of things. So think about the pain points of the people that you're trying to reach, and then search for those pain points and see how people are searching for that information. And also look for other communities that have already built up around that topic. So social media is easy. You just type it in like the search bar for Facebook, for example, and you'll see hundreds, if not thousands, of communities that have sprung up around that topic. So you could say social media architects, say it's all for architects. And I bet you that there's a community out there that's specifically for architects. And if you can't find it directly in Facebook, you can go to Google and type the same thing, social media architect communities. And once you do that, you're going to find out that there's a lot of communities out there that have been built up just for architects. Same thing for any profession that you're in, for the most part. So very few professions out there don't have some kind of group that have formed up. A couple of places I like to look. Reddit is really good because they have these things called subreddits, which are like mini communities around topics. So that might be another place you can look for people that are already talking about your topic. And you go into those groups and you just start to listen. You're not there to sell anything. You're not there to, do anything except for listen to those people and write down word for word what they're saying. So that's really that eavesdropping. And so I have something I call the word vault. It's just, I use an Evernote and I dump actual quotes of things that people are talking about, questions they're asking, things that they are interested in. And then I use that same language in my ads, my copy, all kinds of places. And so you echo them. You see what I'm saying there? So you find out what they're interested in, and then you echo them with your content, with your advertising, with everything that you're doing. And as you do that, you're going to see that you're going to draw more people to you that are like those people that have those problems. So if there's a problem you can solve, instead of going in there and trying to solve it on the spot, the best thing for you to do is to actually start to absorb what people's actual language is and use that language back with them. And then finally, socializing. And socializing is really about taking all of that information and everything you've done and starting to build the relationship. So I also have this thing that I do called the Influence 20. And you can take just a piece of paper and write down 20 different people or companies or organizations that you would like to either partner with or get the attention of on social media, and then write down their social media handles, and then make a plan to interact with at least 5 of those every week. And Madeline and I did a really cool episode, and I can actually grab the link for it and put it in here. But we have this really cool way of doing things called the 2+2 method. And it's, 2+2 is easy to do. And so basically what we're saying is every day, you want to interact with people in this way. So you'll take 2 comments per day. So you find something somebody else is talking about and you comment on it, or you share it with your editorializing, and then also 2 conversations. So start 2 different conversations during the day, either with a specific person or with a post. The polls that you can use in Facebook or Twitter or Instagram has great story polls. So twice a day, you would do something out there that is interactive, that's inviting people to interact with you. So it's called Bees. And I know it's like, pretty simple, but if you think about this, there's a ton of ways that you can go about pulling this together: build, eavesdrop, echo, and socialize. And it's all built around your ideal community member and customer. So that's sort of my tips for today.
So I think those are fantastic, by the way. So I want to invite everyone that if you're listening or watching, whatever, make sure you also check out the URL that Cami posted in the Facebook group, facebook.com/social chefs. So before we get into tool time, by the way, I just want to mention a couple of things real quick. So one is to make sure to, like you said, we have a lot of topics we didn't get to today. Some WhatsApp topics, additional Instagram topics, and more. Be sure you sign up for our daily newsletter at socialchefs.com/daily. This way you get that email that's going to go out to you. We're going to have a blog post recap as well that's going to go out over the weekend with links to everything we've talked about today on this show. So with that, I want to jump into tool time and talk about 2 quick tools. And, like I said, Jim, you and I always talk about this: tools. We talk about hardware, what can help a business or help a business owner. And that first topic that I want to talk about today, the first tool at least, it is called Squawk. And it's a pretty fascinating tool, actually. So basically, let me pull this up for you and we'll kind of run through how this works. So it's pretty simple. You basically take your tweets and you paste the URL of the tweet into this platform. What it's going to do is it's going to turn it into a video. Very simple. That's basically what it does. It's
cool.
$1 video, or you can sign up for $9 a month and get unlimited videos. Have either of you tried this tool? Cami?
Not yet. I mean, I'm very excited about this tool. I saw that you were going to talk about this, and I'm thrilled with this idea, because I've been looking for ways to get more motion and stuff in my stuff, and I think that's really important right now, especially.
Yeah, Jim, what do you think about Squawk?
I think it's really interesting. The one thing that I guess I hesitated initially is when I was reading through some of the notes, because it is, I think, in development, was that emojis didn't necessarily work.
Ooh,
like it had to be like this one where it's strictly a text tweet. So that's maybe where I at this point was a little bit hesitant, but I like the idea. I think like Cami's talking about people. It's like, how do I catch your attention? And especially with a text tweet, if I can have a moving thing and be sharing it on another platform, like putting it on my Instagram or my Facebook, I think that's a really neat feature. And then maybe they'll actually go follow you on Twitter and say, what is this Twitter thing you talk of?
That'd be good.
It's a very good, overall, I mean, from a tool standpoint, I think it's a good tool. I mean, from a time-saving standpoint, I think it will save a lot of time. So $1 a video might seem kind of expensive, but if you put it in the grand scheme of things, if you were to go hire a video editor, or you try to actually do this yourself, I mean, you're literally just pasting a link and it's spitting out a video. So I think it's pretty cool. Big time savings here. And also the other thing is that, it gives you content you can share on Facebook, you can share on Instagram, you can share on LinkedIn. So if you struggle with, well, hey, what do I share on these platforms? Now you have something additional to be able to share. Now, in addition to this, the other part that I really like about this is the fact that it gets you out of like, I don't say imposter syndrome, but like Canva, for example. Everybody uses Canva, or a lot of people have been using Canva. And so the artwork starts to look the same. The visual looks the same. So this tool, I think, gives you, something that you can easily, you could have this as a conversation starter. Like you could post a tweet, a question on Twitter, Whether this would be great for the tweet chat, for example, that I know Madeline does. But you could basically do a video of a question, and you could have maybe the rest of the thread are additional screenshots or comments and whatnot as well, to engage your audience. So I like this. I mean, from a price standpoint, it checks all the boxes, and then from a user standpoint, it's very easy to use. So, anything you want to add about Squawk?
No, I think it's got a lot of great potential. I think Twitter just had a record-breaking quarter, so I think this could be something that just helps them further. Definitely.
So the second tool I'm bringing up, by the way, is it's a very unique tool, and this is Jim and I talked about this actually beforehand. This is actually something that when Ross was doing his predictions for 2020, actually, this was actually something I actually covered because I think that videos a lot of times are often too long, and so we have to frame this one right, because it's not just videos that you create. So basically, what Quibi is they're 10-minute or less episodes. Now, what makes them very unique is that they are produced by Hollywood people, so people that are big-time directors, and they're also starring a lot of your favorite movie stars. So it's not something that the average user or the business owner is going to be able to tap into at the moment, but they're quick bite, 10-minute or less episodes, but they're highly concentrated. That's the key thing. What do you guys think about this one? I mean, it's available on iOS, it's available on Android. Jim, what do you think? Are you going to test this out?
I am going to
stick with Netflix.
I think it kind of goes back to, in some aspects, the fact that people consume content in shorter bits. And so if you can create a show that catches my attention, and it's kind of like, I'm a big fan of The Mandalorian. It's like, when is season 2 coming out? Because I got to see Baby Yoda. But I think it's a great idea. I think what people didn't realize, and I didn't realize it until you and I talked, was that this wasn't something that I'm going to be able to put 10-minute portions of the Tim and Jim show, or Cammie and Madeline can't put their stuff on there either, like, because we're not Hollywood people.
But I will say this: there is one little thing you can do. So even if you're not able to create 10-minute episodes and put them on this platform, you know what you can do when you're creating your own content? Watch these, see how good they are, and tighten up your content. Make it better.
Yeah, it's inspiration, right? It's kind of like the Pinterest for video people or something. I don't know. I mean, it's like, where are we going to go with this? I mean, if this catches on, honestly, it's just going to put pressure on us to be a lot more professional in what we do with video. I think, if this catches on, which I can see, even if Quibi doesn't catch on itself, I think this format is probably going to catch on.
Right.
Definitely. And the other things I think I really like about this, I mean, it's mobile friendly, but you have to remember, as a business owner, as a content creator, and Cammie, you alluded to this earlier, that a lot of times when a business first starts out, they join all their social media platforms because that's the advice that people give them. Hey, you want to get on social media, but then they sign up and they have like 10 social media accounts, and they don't know which one to start with. And the thing you have to remember with Quibi here is that they're publishing new episodes every day, but these are being produced by a team, a huge, massive team that has the bankroll, that has the backing. So if you're not able to, for instance, produce a 10-minute episode every single day, because it does take a lot to write and shoot and edit and publish. Like, it's not just, hey, it takes 20 minutes. It takes a lot longer than that. I think the key thing to think about here is that you're not using this as a measuring stick because, like, hey, I need to actually produce every single day. I need to maybe focus on it from a quality standpoint. Anything else you want to add about Quibi, Cammie or Jim?
Well, all I'm going to say is that there's a lot of apps out there right now that can help you get your video a lot tighter. And I'm thinking about IGTV, and I think you guys said we're going to talk about IGTV a little bit, but IGTV is a good place to do something like this. right now that actually exist at the moment. So I do think that, we need to think about how to tell a story in all of our videos, like from beginning to end. And as business people, we tend to come in and we talk about a tip this and a tip that, but we don't think of it as a story. And one of the apps right now that's huge for this is TikTok, of course. And TikTok, actually, we're going to be talking about TikTok tomorrow at Social Media Breakfast. We live stream that as well. So we're going to be talking about how to use TikTok for business. That's coming up. And I do think it's amazing because that's risen up to be the 4th most popular app in the world right now. And just only under the Facebook products and YouTube.
Right.
So this is the same kind of content that we're talking about, content that brings together music and sounds and a storytelling line.
And it comes back to writing, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
No, and I just think the other thing that a lot of these apps, and whether it's YouTube, even what Disney's done, all these companies, or even in collaboration, right? This group of Hollywood folks, this is taking away, if you want to call it, the classic networks and television and cable. This is a huge, the power is to, can I get the bandwidth to watch this stuff? And because, you have a lot of people that have disconnected from, the network sort of stuff and cable because they want to consume it at their leisure. And that's where, okay, I can take 10 minutes while I'm sitting in the doctor's office, and ideally, hopefully they have headphones on because we don't want to all listen to it.
Well, we all have our Bluetooth earbuds in these days.
That's right.
Yes.
But yes, I think that's a great point. But do you want to go real quick back to? I think that this actually does tie in well with that IGTV. If we got time to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can go back to that. Yeah, what you want to tell viewers about the topic?
Sure. So IGTV is actually now working to allow people to monetize their streams, and if they get enough viewership, I think they can actually make money off of ads. And so I think going back to Cammie's point, those are 10-minute videos right now. Theoretically, they could be longer, but that I think what she brought up is a great point. And now it makes me think, because I did IGTV way back when it was vertical. I did a few episodes, and so now I'm going to have to think about, well, maybe this makes sense to go back and create some content on there. But then again, when you sometimes look at the barrier to monetize, you're like, do I really want to make that effort?
Right. And they were having trouble getting like the YouTube type of creators over to do IGTV because they're like, well, where's the monetization? So you may get a flood of creators that come to, I think that's what they're trying to do anyway, is attract those creators. And certainly I think IGTV, now that it actually sits, like it can sit in your thing, and you can pull together a thumbnail and make it look really nice in your wall, like your main wall. So I think that's something that could work really well for certain creators.
Definitely. And, I want to hit on one quick point about that. So I want to go back to the Quibi tool, for example. So they're 10-minute TV episodes, right? But you have to think about the bigger picture of this. And this applies to YouTube, it applies to Instagram, it applies to Facebook. It comes down to having that whole package and having a template, for example, that you follow religiously for what you create. For example, if it's Quibi, the things that they're using to sell this, it's the artwork and the trailer. So the trailers, by the way, are interesting because it's hey, it's a 10-minute episode. Trailers are usually 1.5 to 2 minutes. You basically give away a fifth of it, 20% of it. But that's key thing to think about. You want your artwork to stand out. So you want to make sure you put the time into that, in addition to having really tight content versus let me just record this video and hey, I'm going to record it and I'm going to skip the most important part that somebody sees before they hit play on your video. But that applies to these platforms. It's having a good thumbnail, for example, on any of the content. So
and also once you have your thumbnail, then it plays the first few seconds of whatever your video is on IGTV anyway, in your wall, and then it says, do you want to listen to more? And so that first 30 seconds has to be really, really a strong hook. So you can't, ramble on about who you are and what the show is. You got to go right into the content. We're going to be talking about this, this, and this, and this is why you need to know. I mean, that's, if you're going to be doing informational products, that's what you have to do to pull people in. They're like, why should I listen to this? I don't have time.
Exactly.
So
So with that, does anybody have anything else they want to bring up this week, or anything you want to add to any of the topics we just covered?
No, I think it's been a great episode. It's really been great to get to actually see and talk with Cami for the first time. I know we've been connected on social for a while, and that's also part of the power of social and part of the power of building, eavesdropping, echoing, and socializing. We're doing that.
I gotta say, I really like the board. That was actually fantastic. So
plus, you build your hive. You build your hive. You build your tribe.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember. That's the idea.
Yes.
So, Cami, what's the best place for people if they want to get in touch with you, like, on your social media platforms and whatnot? Where should they?
There's lots of places. Probably Instagram and Twitter are the two top ones. KamiChat. I'm KamiChat, as you see on my little thing here. Both everywhere, pretty much. And then also, if you are interested in social media breakfast of Houston, because you're here on probably if you're watching on Facebook, you might be more a Facebook person. We have a monthly stream, and we meet live. Actually, we record it live as we're in a restaurant, so it's kind of like you're in the restaurant with us.
Nice.
We have good sound quality and production values and lighting and everything. So would love to have you join us for that. Tomorrow's TikTok at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. So if you're interested in that platform, definitely show up for that. So those places are probably the best. And then of course, smartsocialsecrets.com. I have actually a freebie there that you can download about how to put together your social media strategy. I have a video and everything that walks you through exactly how to do it. So, I give away a lot of stuff. So you check out all these different things.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. So with that, I want to wrap everything up, but I just want to say thanks a lot for tuning in, whether you're listening or watching live or listening to the podcast. But don't forget, we will have a blog post recap that will go out over the weekend at socialchefs.com/SC228. You get all the topics that we talked about, all the tools. We'll have we'll link off to Cami's all of the links that she was talking about giving us earlier. So we'll have all of that. In addition to that, we also have the Alexa flash briefing, socialchefs.com/Alexa. You can go there and you can check that out. That's basically a 5 to 7 minute recap of this show. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us. We will see everyone next Thursday at 12, same exact time, actually. We're going to have Troy Sandage on Facebook or YouTube. That's facebook.com/socialchefs or youtube.com/socialchefs. With that, thank you, everyone, for just being, bringing just so much knowledge this week. I'm looking forward to checking out Cami's website. Jim, I'm looking forward to us continuing this video project that we're working on as well. I've been doing a lot of brainstorming, so we're going to have an announcement on that soon as well. But thanks a lot for tuning in, everyone. We will see you all next Thursday. Bye.
Bye, everyone.